Assalamu alaikum students. So today's lecture is about the development of female reproductive system, and in this lecture we will study the development of ovaries, the development of the female genital ducts, that is the uterine tubes, uterus and vagina. So this is the genital ridge, you can see here. This is the nephrogenic cord. It is the mesonephros part of the nephrogenic cord, and here lies the gonadal ridge. So in male and female you can see here the gonadal ridge. It has got three components. Two components are shown here, the coelomic epithelium and the local mesenchyme of the ridge and the coelomic epithelium. And third component not shown here is the primordial germ cells. Now in the genital system begins to develop during the 5th week of development. However, during the 5th and 6th weeks, all the three components of the genital system, that is gonads, genital ducts and external genitalia, in the male as well as female embryos are similar, and distinction of sex cannot be made by inspection of the genital system during this period, which is called indifferent stage of sexual development. During the indifferent stage, the primordial germ cell migrate from the yolk sac into the developing gonads. You can see here they are migrating through the dorsal mesentery into the developing yolk sac, gonads. The differentiation of the genital system into male or female type starts with the differentiation of gonads that begin in the 7th week of development. Following the differentiation of gonads, differentiation of the genital ducts and external genitalia occurs under the influence of hormones produced by the gonads. So the genital system, it begins to develop during the 5th week of development, and however during the 5th and 6th week all the components of the genital system, that is the gonads, the genital ducts and the external genitalia in the male as well as in the female embryos are similar, and distinction of sex cannot be made by inspection of the genital system during this period, which is known as period of indifferentiation. So in period of indifferentiation, the gonads, they look like that. During this period, the primary germ cells migrate from the yolk sac, as I have told you, into the developing gonads. The differentiation of genital system into male or female type starts with differentiation of gonads that begins in the 7th week of development. Now the first of all the period of, now we will discuss the development of the ovaries. And in development of ovaries also, the initial period is also known as the indifferent gonad. The gonads are derived mainly from the intermediate mesoderm that forms part of the urogenital ridge on the dorsal body wall. One ridge lying on each side of the midline, as I have shown you before. The medial part of each urogenital ridge is known as the gonadal ridge. So this is the urogenital ridge and this is the medial part, this is the gonadal ridge, and laterally lies the nephrogenic cord from where the kidney systems arise. In the 4th week of development, the gonadal ridges are seen to be located on the medial aspect of mesonephroid, as I have told you before. And the three components of the gonadal ridge. Now what are the three components from which the ovaries will be derived? The coelomic epithelium, shown in the black one, the mesonephric mesoderm, shown in here, this yellow one, mesonephric mesoderm, and the primordial germ cells. Primordial germ cells, which originate in the epiblast, move into the wall of yolk sac and finally migrate into the developing gonads, as we have discussed before. So this is in the beginning of the 5th week, the coelomic epithelium covering the gonadal ridge proliferates and becomes many layered thick. The mesenchyme underlying the coelomic epithelium become condensed. During the 4th week, the primordial germ cells begin to migrate from the wall of the yolk sac via the mesentery of the hindgut and reaches the genital ridge by the 6th week of development. Now, upon arrival of the this primordial germ cells, they induces changes in the coelomic epithelium covering the gonadal ridge, and gonadal ridge proliferate and they form finger-like epithelial cords, which are called as primary sex cords. Now these primary sex cords, they invade the underlying mesenchyme, and the primordial germ cells, they lie embedded in these primary sex cords. The indifferent gonad now consists of an outer region or cortex. So this is the outer region or cortex, and an inner region or medulla. Both regions are present in the gonads of the male and female embryos during indifferent stage. However, after the 6th week, they pursue different fates in the female and the male. In female embryos, the cortex differentiates into ovaries and medulla undergoes regression. So in female, the cortex will develop fully while the medulla will degenerate. This is opposite to the testes, where the cortex degenerates while the medulla, it develops fully. In the female, the embryo, the sex chromosomal complement is XX chromosome. Now in the absence of Y chromosome, the gonads develop into ovaries. So in order to develop ovaries, the Y chromosome should be absent. However, differentiation of indifferent gonads into ovaries occurs more slowly as compared to that of the testes, and the ovary is not distinguishable histologically until the 10th week of development. So with the development, with the presence of XX gene or in the absence of Y chromosome, the indifferent gonad, that is this structure, it develops into ovaries. Now these are the primary sex cords in which are embedded the primordial germ cells. Now these primary sex cords, they degenerate, and these germ cells which are arranged in these cords, they arrange themselves in the form of clusters. Now these primary sex cords, they disappear, and these primordial germ cells, they increase in their number by undergoing repeated mitotic divisions. Each of these clusters consists of oogonia surrounded by coelomic epithelial cells. Now most of these clusters, they disappear and are replaced by vascular connective tissue, and this which forms the ovarian medulla. So you can see here that in the medullary region, these sex cords and the primordial germ cells, the clusters of the primordial germ cells, they disappear. You can see here the clusters of the primordial germ cells, they disappear in the region of medulla of the developing ovaries, and not all the oogonia, they degenerate, and a good number of them survive when the primary sex cords are breaking up and degenerating. Now in the early fetal period, the coelomic epithelium covering the outer surface of the ovary gives rise to a second generation of cellular cords known as secondary sex cords. So these are the secondary sex cords, or known as cortical cords, because they are in the region of the cortex. The cells of these cords again become associated with existing oogonia. In the beginning of the fourth month, the cortical cords also break up into isolated cell clusters called the primordial follicles. So these secondary cords also break up and cell clusters are formed, which are known as primordial follicles. Now each primordial follicle consists of an oogonium surrounded by a single layer of flattened cells, the follicular cells, which are derived from the epithelial cells of the sex cords. Now active mitotic division of the oogonia occurs during the fetal life, producing thousands of primordial follicles. Formation of these follicles results in addition of a thick cortex over the medulla of the ovary. Now the surface epithelium of ovary become reduced to a single layer. It was initially multiple layered, thickened, but as time passed, this multiple layer, it becomes single, and the cells are cuboidal shaped, which joins the mesothelium of the peritoneum at the hilum of the ovary. So this forms the germinal epithelium of the ovary. As the ovary grows and enlarges, it becomes separated from the regressing mesonephros. This is the mesonephros, regressing mesonephros, by a short mesentery called the mesoovarium. Now here you can see the difference between the developing testes and the developing ovaries. Now this is the different stage of development of the gonads, in which here in case of testes, the medullary region develops and the primary sex cords remain, and they form the testes cords. While in the this ovary, the medullary region, it degenerates, medullary cords region degenerates, and secondary sex cords or cortical cords of the ovary, they lie in the cortex of the ovary, while medulla, it degenerates. As the ovary grows and enlarges, it becomes separated from the regressing mesonephros by a short mesentery known as, so this is the short mesentery known as mesoovarium. In the later development, the mesoovarium provides the attachment of the ovary to the broad ligament of the uterus. So in this diagram you can see initially the cell clusters which are surrounded by the stromal cells, and then the individual cells are surrounded by the stromal cells, follicular cells, and within this is the one primordial follicle. The oogonia enlarge to become the primary oocyte. All primary oocytes enter the first meiotic division but become arrested in prophase stage of this division. This state of arrest called dictyotein is long phase which continues during rest of the fetal life and also during the childhood and some part of the adult reproductive life. Now in the developing embryo, the number of primordial follicles reaches its maximum during the 5th month, and approximately 7 million follicles are present in the two ovaries at this time. Now in later fetal period, majority of follicles, primordial follicles, degenerate and disappear. Now at birth, about 2 million follicles are present in the ovaries. The process of follicular death continues during the childhood of the female, and only about 400,000 follicles are present in the ovaries at the onset of puberty. So descent of ovary, as I have told you before, in the development and descent of testes, a ligament known as gubernaculum is formed from the lower pole of the gonad to the which get attaches to the surface of scrotum in case of male, and to the inner surface of labium majus in case of female. So the gubernaculum also forms in female embryo during the 7th week, starting from the inferior pole of the developing ovary. The gubernaculum ovari passes caudally in the posterior abdominal wall. It then grows ventrally into the pelvic brim and passes through the inguinal canal to finally end in the labial swelling. So note, it is not shown here. The ending is not shown here. This is the lower pole of the ovary and extending down into the labium majus. The gubernaculum crosses the paramesonephric duct, and these two structures become attached to each other at the site of the crossing. The gubernaculum causes descent of the ovaries from the posterior abdominal wall to the pelvic rim. Now it is noted that gubernaculum does not regress in female but becomes converted into certain fibrous cord-like structures. The caudal part of the two paramesonephric duct move medially to fuse with each other, you can see here, and to form the uterovaginal canal. In so doing, they sweep out the broad ligament and simultaneously pull the ovaries into these peritoneal folds. The gubernaculum ovari becomes attached to the developing uterus at its junction with the uterine tube. So here you can see it is attaching. The superior part of the gubernaculum becomes the ligament of the ovary, which connects the ovary to the uterus, and the inferior part of the gubernaculum becomes the round ligament of the uterus, which runs between the two layers of the broad ligament, passes through the inguinal canal, and ends by becoming attached to the fascia of labium majus. A small process vaginalis also forms in female, but normally it becomes obliterated. So here you can see that the duct of one side, first it is lying lateral to the mesonephric duct, and then it is lying in front of the mesonephric duct, and then it moves caudomedially and unite with the paramesonephric duct of the opposite side. And here you can see initially there is a septum. The two ducts are initially separated by a septum but later fuses to form the uterine canal. The caudal tip of the combined ducts, it projects into the posterior wall of the urogenital sinus. So here you can see in yellow are the posterior wall is the posterior wall of urogenital sinus, and the caudal tip of the combined ducts project into the posterior wall of urogenital sinus, where it causes a small swelling, the paramesonephric or Mullerian tubercle. So this is the paramesonephric or Mullerian tubercle. The mesonephric ducts open up into the urogenital sinus on either side of the Mullerian tubercle. So these paramesonephric ducts are also opening up into the urogenital sinus on either side of the paramesonephric tubercle. Now the paramesonephric ducts develop into the main genital ducts of the female. Initially, three parts of the genital ducts of paramesonephric duct can be recognized. Cranial part, you can see here, this is the cranial part that opens up into the abdominal cavity, a horizontal part that crosses the mesonephric duct, this is the horizontal part, and then the caudal vertical part that fuses with its partner from the opposite side. So you can see the vertical part fusing with its partner from the opposite side. With descent of the ovary, the first two parts develop into the uterine tube, and the caudal part fuses to form the uterine canal. So this part, the cranial part and the horizontal part, with the descent of ovary, it forms the uterine tubes, while the caudal part forms the uterine canal. When the second part of the paramesonephric duct moves mediocaudally, the urogenital ridges gradually come to lie in the transverse plane. So after the ducts fuse in the midline, a broad transverse pelvic fold is established. You can see here that this is the transverse fold, and these are the two paramesonephric ducts. These are combining with each other, and this is the broad transverse fold, pelvic fold established. This fold, which extends from the lateral side of the fused paramesonephric ducts towards the wall of the pelvis, is the broad ligament of the uterus. The uterine tube lies in the upper border, and the ovary lies on the posterior surface of this ligament. The uterus and broad ligaments divide the pelvic cavity into the uterorectal pouch posteriorly and the uterovesical pouch anteriorly. The fused paramesonephric ducts give rise to the corpus and the cervix of the uterus. They are surrounded by layers of mesenchyme that forms the muscular coat of the uterus, the myometrium, and its peritoneal covering, the perimetrium. You can see here, initially there was a uterine septum in between uterine canal. This is the uterine canal, and this was the septum, which later disappears, and the surrounding mesenchyme will form the muscular tissue and the connective tissue. So this is how uterus is formed. Now, as I have told you before, both the paramesonephric duct combine and they open up into the posterior wall of the urogenital sinus, and where they opens up into the sinus, they form a paramesonephric thickening known as paramesonephric tubercle. Paramesonephric tubercle. So, shortly after the solid tip of the paramesonephric duct reaches the urogenital sinus, the two solid evaginations grow out from the pelvic part of the sinus. These evaginations are known as sinovaginal bulb or the tubercle, paramesonephric tubercle. Now, these evaginations, they proliferate and form a solid vaginal plate. Here you can see it is a solid vaginal plate is formed, and proliferation continues at the cranial end of the plate, reaching the distance between the uterus and the urogenital sinus. By the 5th month, the vaginal outgrowth is entirely canalized. You can see here the vaginal outgrowth is entirely canalized. The wing-like expansion of vagina around the end of the uterus, the vaginal fornix, are of paramesonephric origin. So, vagina partly arises from the paramesonephric duct and partly from the urogenital sinus, posterior wall of the urogenital sinus. Thus, the vagina has dual origin. The lumen of the vagina remains separated from that of the urogenital sinus by a thin tissue plate known as hymen, which consists of epithelial lining of the sinus and thin layer of vaginal cells. It usually develops a small opening during perinatal life. So in the female, some remnants of the cranial and caudal excretory tubules in the mesonephric duct remains, where they form the apoophoron and paraophoron respectively. So you can see here that these are the remnants of the mesonephric duct, apoophoron and paraophoron, cranial and caudal part. The mesonephric duct disappears except for a small cranial portion found in the apoophoron and occasionally a small caudal portion which may be found in the wall of uterus or vagina. Later in life, it may form Gartner's cyst. So, remnants of mesonephric duct in the female are the apoophoron, paraophoron and Gartner's cyst. Now, uterine and vaginal defects, congenital defects. Now, duplication of the uterus results from lack of fusion of the paramesonephric duct in a local area or throughout their normal line of fusion. In its extreme form, the uterus is entirely double. Uterus didelphys. Uterus didelphys, you can see here with the double vagina. Uterus didelphys with double vagina. In the least square form, it is only slightly indented on the middle. So you can see uterus bicornus. Uterus bicornus, in which the uterus has two horns entering a common vagina. Uterus has two horns entering the common vagina. This condition is normal in many mammals below the primates. In patients with complete or partial atresia of one of the paramesonephric duct, the rudimentary part lies in the as an appendage to the well-developed site. Since its lumen usually does not communicate with the vagina, complications are common. Uterus bicornus, unicolous with one rudimentary horn, you can see here. If the atresia involves both sides, an atresia of cervix may result. So in the later case, a small vaginal pouch originating from the paramesonephric duct usually surrounds the opening of the cervix. This is atresia of the cervix and this is atresia of the vagina. Vaginal lumen failed to canalize. So these are the various abnormalities of the development of uterus and vagina.